I'm Olek Novak, this is Chasing Cars, and today we are setting out to answer one very simple question, and that is whether this is one of the best and smartest premium electric SUVs that you can buy. Now, the BMW iX3 M Sport is priced at $89,100 before on-road costs. So on the one hand, it might not look like the most affordable way to enter into premium electric SUV ownership. But at the same time, this is one of 6 electric BMWs that you can purchase below the luxury car tax threshold, and it is the biggest of those 6 vehicles. So there are some clear financial incentives that come with that. We're going to touch on those a bit later in the video. But bearing that in mind, if this vehicle was also to drive as well as you'd expect of a traditional internal combustion engine BMW, then that would add together to make a pretty compelling package. So, does it? Well, we're going to go for a drive today to find out the answer to that very question. We're also going to get a bit of a lay of the land of what's happening with the iX3 for its future generations too. Not only that, we're going to share the results of our official range and charging tests to see if this vehicle is as efficient as it claims to be too. So stay tuned for all of that. But first, make sure to hit like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and make sure to give us a follow on TikTok and Instagram too for lots of daily content and behind the scenes videos too. Chasing Cars, honest reviews of your next car.
Brought to you by
Budget Direct.
It's rare for a single model to be offered in petrol, diesel, plug-in hybrid electric, and also electric powertrain options. But that's exactly the case with the BMW X3 and iX3 range. So let's get a bit of a lay of the land of the history of this nameplate and just what's happening for the future too. Now I'm going to break it down and make it as simple as possible, but essentially the BMW X3 was originally launched in 2017. That's when it was revealed, and over the years it eventually came out with petrol, diesel, plug-in hybrid options as well. Now in 2020, BMW revealed an all-electric version called the iX3, which looked essentially the same. Now the iX3 was built on the same cluster architecture, which was just engineered to essentially become an electric vehicle. It debuted in Australia in 2022. Now since then, BMW has also revealed its all-new 4th generation X3. You would have seen our detailed walk-around review video of that car. What's significant about that is that this is where the X3 and the iX3 are going to diverge. So they are no longer going to share the same platform. Essentially, the next generation iX3 is going to be built on an EV-specific platform, BMW's Neue Klasse platform, which is only for electric cars. It's going to be the first Neue Klasse car to go into production. So the X3 and the iX3 will no longer be as related as they are in the current generation. Now, that's going to bring with it quite a few advantages because the current generation iX3 was essentially built on a platform that was an ICE vehicle first. The next generation Neue Klasse iX3 is essentially going to be electric only, which means that BMW is going to be able to exploit the advantages of a car architecture that was developed as an EV-only platform. But unlike the new X3, which has been revealed, the next generation iX3 has not been revealed in its production version. BMW has revealed a Neue Klasse X concept, which does preview the next iX3, and apparently it's going to look very similar to that car, so make sure to check out our detailed walk-around of that vehicle as well. But until that vehicle launches, it's set to be going into production sometime in 2025. The current generation iX3 is going to soldier on for a bit longer. In terms of its Australian lineup, the BMW iX3 is available in 2 grades. So you've got the BMW iX3 M Sport that we've got with us today, and then you've also got the M Sport Pro. Now in terms of the powertrain, it's identical for both vehicles. So they both come with a 74 kilowatt hour usable battery pack. They both have a single rear motor, so they're both rear-wheel drive only, like a proper BMW. There is no dual motor available in the current generation. Now, the motor has total outputs of 210 kilowatts, 400 Newton meters, and it's enough to move the 2.2-ton vehicle from 0 to 100 in 6.8 seconds. As for the differences, the higher spec M Sport Pro, which costs an additional 15 grand, gains features like 20-inch wheels, a Harman Kardon stereo system, BMW Parking Assistant Plus, which includes a surround view camera, a head-up display, and sun protection glazing. Now, the BMW iX3 is a bit of an international affair. Now, this Bavarian vehicle is not actually built in Germany, it is built in China. But the international aspect doesn't end there because the original X3 that came out in 2017 was designed by BMW's Australian designer Calvin Luck. So how's it dating over the years, given the design is a few years old by now? Well, look, I reckon in my subjective eyes, this is a nice traditional BMW design. The proportions have that traditional rear-wheel drive bias, it's got a long bonnet, and I think overall that gives it a nice stately, kind of dignified, elegance to it. Now that might appeal to quite a lot of people. There might be others who prefer the more ostentatious new age design of other BMWs, but overall I think a lot of people are going to like the more restrained traditional look of this BMW. Now our test car today comes in a lovely Phytonic blue. Now it is a metallic paint option, it is a no-cost option. In fact, none of the colors on the BMW iX3 will cost you any money to choose, so that is a good thing about the car. So while it is so similar to the X3 petrol variants, how are you going to spot the differences between an iX3 electric and a petrol X3? The first few telltale signs are the fact that you've got a plastic grille here, you've got some blue surrounds to the BMW logo, and you've got some eye badging around the car as well. Then there's also the wheel designs for the electric cars. Now, our base model M Sport comes with 19-inch wheels. The M Sport Pro comes with 20-inch wheels, as I did mention earlier. Spoiler alert, I don't reckon it's worth stepping up the extra 15 grand to get the 20-inch wheels. These ones are just fine, and I reckon they look good too. But those are just my thoughts on the looks, and bearing in mind that we've had the new X3 design be revealed recently, we've also seen the Neue Klasse X concept be revealed, and we all know what the iX3 has looked like over the years. Let us know, which design do you reckon BMW has nailed the most, and which one is your favorite? Let us know in the comment section down below. The BMW iX3 interior, it's a bit more old school in one sense of the word, compared to a lot of BMW's new interiors. So that's the first thing you're going to notice, and that might be a plus or a minus depending on what your preferences are. So I guess the first thing in terms of the cabin ambience, it's really nice. I particularly like we've got this vehicle spec'd in the Mocha upholstery, so you can get 3 different upholstery choices: Mocha, Oyster, or Black. Each of them are no-cost options. Mocha, it's really nice. It works really nicely with the Phytonic blue color on the outside, and I think it just gives it a nice cabin ambience. Now, next, running through the different elements, in terms of seating position, it's got a really good driving position. So you've got electric seats, driver memory settings as well, which is good. Lots of electric adjustments, so you can find a really nice driving position. Forward visibility is good, and also rear visibility from either side is quite good as well. So that's a plus with the BMW iX3. Now, aside from that, in terms of ergonomics, it's quite good. Everything feels really solidly built and really well screwed together. So that's a good element with the iX3. Now, one other thing you're going to notice is in terms of the BMW cabin layout. So it doesn't have the joined dual screen of most modern BMWs. Instead, this is more dated in that sense, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's not to say this interior is completely out of date. A few years ago, this was quite a modern cabin, but it's not that leap forward that we've seen in modern BMWs. So if you are someone who still appreciates having a lot of tangible controls and physical buttons, then this is your chance to get a car that still has that. So as you would have seen with the new BMW X3 video that we did and the Neue Klasse concept, obviously the next iX3 is going to lose a lot of these physical controls. So get in while you still can if this is something you do value. They all feel really nice to the touch, they're really nice to engage with, and overall there's a nice tactility to the cabin as well. So that's one element to the cabin. It's a bit more older school in that regard, but that's not to say that it is lacking in all the tech that you'd expect. So you've got 2 screens in front of you. You've got a 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster here. Maybe one negative, I don't think I've spent 2 weeks in some Audi Q8 e-trons recently. Granted, those vehicles are the class above the X3, but there was much more configurability to those driver instrument displays, which I think this iX3 lacks in terms of configurability and customizability in terms of what the digital gauges can display. That said, they do the job. They're nice and clear in that sense. So that's okay. In terms of the 12.3-inch media screen over here, it runs on BMW's operating system 7, so it's a bit older. One good thing about it is that it's really responsive to touch and engage with. It's a very fast unit, so that's a good thing. It might have taken me a bit longer intuitively to just kind of figure out compared to some of those Audi interiors I've been in recently, but once you get used to it, it is fine. And again, the speed of it is definitely appreciated. One other thing that I really like is that you still have BMW's rotary dial controller over here to control the elements. So granted, ergonomically it's quite good because you can reach the screen quite well, but at the same time, while you can engage with it as a touch screen, it is really nice to just being able to use the rotary controller, which works really well, really fast, really responsive. You can also sit back a bit more. You don't have to take your eyes off the road as much. So that is one good thing about having that duality there. And a lot of the lower spec BMWs are losing the rotary dial. As well as that, with tech, you've also got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto too. So again, it's not that leap forward of new BMW cabins, but it's got enough tech for most people, unless you want the most up-to-date modern tech that you could possibly have in terms of the kind of design that the cabin offers. But again, it is quite good. In terms of storage, you've got 2 cup holders over here, a wireless phone charger in front of that. You've got a little command center over here that has those rotary dials to control the infotainment. You've got BMW's new style toggle gear selector, which works quite well. And you've also got shortcuts here to control the drive modes. And I do appreciate the fact that we've got some physical, tangible shortcut buttons to switch between sport, comfort, and eco mode. So you don't have to shift through different menu settings to find those. You can just switch between them very quickly like so, which is good. In terms of other storage elements, so you've got a decent glove box over here in front of the front passenger. You've got a center cubby over here as well, and you've got another storage bin over here between the steering wheel and the door to the right as well. In terms of 2 last elements with the interior, you've also got a panoramic glass sunroof as standard, which is a nice element, and you can cover it. So tick for that. I don't like it when you have panoramic glass roofs that are permanently open that you can't close. We live in Australia, there's a lot of sun, so I like the added fact that you can close it. One other element that I didn't mention that has bugged me during my time with the iX3 is that on the digital instrument cluster, you've got a little dial there that shows the state of battery charge. But because it's a dial, you can't see with pinpoint accuracy how much battery charge is left. So especially when we've been doing our charging and range tests, I've wanted to see to the percentage point what % battery charge is left. And I haven't figured out a way to do that. I've seen on the BMW forums that it looks like you can't do that. The only way that I have been able to do that is by literally asking, hey BMW, what's the state of battery charge? And provided the car understood my question, it then told me what the state of charge was. Apparently you can get the state of charge through the My BMW app. Again, not necessarily a criticism. Most people, that won't bother them at all, but it's just something that bugged me ever so slightly. But overall, really nice interior, slightly more old school, still a very nice design aesthetically, a nice place to be. Let's check out the rear seat. Now the rear seats of the iX3 are also quite a nice place to be. So sitting behind my own driving position, I've got good leg room. Toe room is quite good as well. Knee room is good. In terms of headroom, that's quite good for me as well. So no issues getting comfortable. The seats are quite comfortable as well, and all around visibility is pretty good too. So a tick for comfort. Then in terms of amenities, so in front of you, you've got map pockets behind either of the front seats. You've got 2 air vents here at the rear. You've got that 3rd zone of climate control that you can control from the rear, which is also a good thing. Underneath that, you've got 2 USB-C ports as well. One negative though, owing to the vehicle's internal combustion routes, you do have quite a hump here in the center seat position. So that's just something to bear in mind if you're going to have people sitting in the middle seat. In terms of other amenities, you do have a center armrest over here, which opens up to reveal 2 cup holders too. And then beyond that, you've also got some little lights over here. You've got some hooks as well, so you can hang clothes and such, and also some pretty decent door bins over here as well. Now, the good thing about the vehicle is that the quality of the interior materials is pretty good. So it hasn't replaced the door tops with hard, scratchy cabin plastics in the rear, so that's good. It still feels really solidly built and well screwed together. And then if you do want to increase that comfort for longer journeys, you can actually recline the rear seats slightly more so, depending on how much you want to be reclined. So that's a good thing with the iX3. The comfort for the middle seat, it's slightly firm at the back, so perhaps for longer journeys might not be the most comfortable cruiser. So that's just something to bear in mind. So all in all, for a mid-sized family SUV, it's pretty good rear seat cabin ambience. But let's check out the boot. All right, so let's check out the boot space of the BMW iX3. We're going to open the electric power tailgate. That is going to reveal 510 litres of boot space, so it is a bit less than its petrol counterparts. If you were to fold the rear seats down, that would reveal 1,560 litres of boot space. Now, they fold 40, 20, 40. In terms of some other amenities that you have in here, so you've got the cargo cover, which I've just pulled back. In terms of other amenities, you've got a separate little section here behind this net for some smaller items as well. You've also got some hooks for your shopping bags as well. Now, you've got a little section under here for your charging cables. Unfortunately, the iX3 does not come with a spare wheel, so that's just something to bear in mind. In terms of running costs, you can get the iX3 with a 6-year BMW service plan that's going to set you back a little over $2,300. Now, the iX3 comes with conditions-based servicing, so it doesn't have standard service intervals. Instead, you're going to have to wait for the computer to tell you what is required and when. Now, the iX3 is covered by BMW's 5-year unlimited kilometer warranty. The battery comes with an 8-year, 160,000 kilometer warranty too. And BMW throws in a 12-month ChargeFox network subscription as well. So you can charge it through the ChargeFox Australia network for free for that 12-month period. If you were to step up to the iX3 M Sport Pro, that would come with a 5-year ChargeFox network subscription too. What about efficiency and charging? Well, the iX3 has a claimed WLTP range of up to 460 kilometers. We conducted our official Chasing Cars range and efficiency test in a highway scenario. So we drove a 180 kilometer highway loop and we achieved an efficiency figure of 16.57 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So a respectable figure. And that equated to an implied range of 446 kilometers, which is very close to the claimed range. So that is good for the iX3 that it came close to its claim, if not delivering a class-leading range figure. Now, in terms of charging, the iX3 has a maximum charging capacity of 150 kilowatt DC charging. Now, we also conducted a charging test to see in a highway scenario how long it would take to charge it from 50 kilometers of range to 350 kilometers of range, and we did that in 34 minutes. From a safety perspective, the iX3 had a 5-star NCAP safety rating from 2017 to the end of 2023, but that's now expired. It does, however, come with 6 airbags and a full suite of active safety and driver assistance features like adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, front and rear cross traffic alert, traffic sign recognition, a reversing camera with front and rear parking sensors, and AEB. During my time with the car, I found the safety systems to be pretty well calibrated too. Transitioning to electrification for a legacy brand like BMW that has such a reputation to uphold in terms of how its vehicles drive would be a very challenging job, but with the iX3, as we'll discover, it has achieved a really good balance of delivering a pretty pragmatic package that is just a good SUV, regardless of its powertrain, or whether it was electric or internal combustion. So what I mean by that, we'll go through the elements of what this car does well, what it might do less well, but we're going to start with how it puts power down onto the road. And in terms of its power outputs, we've already mentioned the iX3 has a claimed 0 to 100 figure of 6.8 seconds to 100 kilometers. And while it's not a blisteringly fast EV in any respect of the world, it is a quick EV. It's got a brisk, fluid kind of pace to it. It's definitely not wanting for more power. It's got enough power for most buyers' daily needs, and it feels just very nice and linear and progressive in terms of how it puts that power down onto the road. Now, apart from that, you've then got the ride and handling, and this vehicle delivers a really complete package in terms of that department as well. So the ride is very good quality. We're driving on some pretty bumpy back roads at the moment. There's a lot of bumps, they're not that well finished, and the ride has a really good balance between the right amount of plushness while still delivering a really tight, composed feeling in terms of its body control. It just feels like a really tight vehicle, but at the same time it takes the worst out of the worst roads that you are driving on. And in that regard, I think the ride is really good quality. So we're on the 19-inch wheels of the base model, and I think that definitely goes some way to helping, given we've got higher profile tires that help soak up those bumps. But then there's also the fact that the vehicle just feels like it's been inherently well engineered. The suspension setup does a really good job at navigating some bad roads. It feels really well damped overall as well, and I think it just achieves a nice balance. Overall, I think the iX3 delivers what a lot of people would expect of it, that traditional kind of BMW-ness, however you can describe that. But I think the fact that it's got a rear-wheel drive setup, the fact that the EV version has a 75mm lower center of gravity, and the fact that it's a single motor, which means its weight is slightly reduced, particularly at the front, means that overall that couples together with what is also a really well-engineered vehicle to deliver a car that handles really well. Taking it around a set of bends, it actually quite enjoys them. It corners really beautifully, it's quite confidence inspiring, and it's overall quite satisfying and engaging to punt around a set of corners. The chassis is quite communicative in that sense. It seems to be really enjoying it, and it pulls out of corners really nicely as well, with just a quality, satisfying feeling of a well-engineered vehicle that's actually enjoying the road that you're on. So that's a really good thing about it. So I think overall, in terms of the handling department, it's a tick in terms of delivering what you'd expect from a BMW, which is just that, apart from the premium experience, you want to experience a car that has those rear-wheel drive dynamics. And I think the way I describe this car is just having this inherent fluid kind of dynamism to it that is just really feels really satisfying to pilot. In terms of the steering, it's quite good. I wouldn't describe it as being overly feelsome steering in any sense, but at the same time, I think most buyers will appreciate the fact that it is really light. It is really easy to place the car on the road. It's really direct. And again, without wanting to overuse the word, while it's not the most feelsome, it does feel really fluid and quite satisfying. And it's very easy to place the car on the road. So I think overall, it does a good job as well. In terms of other elements, the refinement is quite good. So overall, it's quite a quiet car, and coupled with the cabin ambience as well, that kind of adds to that quality drive experience overall. Now, we've mentioned in terms of the power delivery and how well this car accelerates. What about how it stops? So overall, the brakes feel quite good. They're easy to modulate, feels quite confidence inspiring in terms of its stopping power, and I don't have any criticisms in that regard. You can play around with the different levels of regeneration that the car offers as well. Not only that, but you can also use the toggle shifter over here to shift the car from drive. If you just pull it back, you can shift it into B mode, and that puts it into its highest level of regen, which is a one pedal like driving experience. So some people may really enjoy that, may not enjoy it. It's quite a strong regenerative braking. So again, not for everyone, but the fact that it offers that is a good thing and just helps with that efficiency. And also some people might like that extra level of engagement that it offers in terms of the drive experience too. As well as changing up the levels of regenerative braking, you can also change up the drive experience by cycling through the drive modes. As I mentioned, it is really useful in terms of the drive, just having quick shortcut buttons to be able to shift through the drive modes very quickly. So currently we are just in regular comfort mode. As well as comfort mode, you can also put it into Eco Pro mode, just to maximize that efficiency, or you can put it into sport mode, and you do feel a noticeable shove when you do that to just maximize that adaptive suspension that the car has. So firming that up, but also recalibrating the steering response and the power delivery to give it a bit more oomph in terms of the drive experience. Now, regardless of which mode you're in, I don't think it affects the ride comfort negatively. I think it is inherently quite a comfortable, composed, well-riding vehicle, so that is a good thing. And I think coming back to the power delivery and the drive experience, I think for a 2.2 ton vehicle, this car just moves really well, and it just delivers a really all-round quality drive experience that just shines across the board. It's comfortable, it's engaging, it's dynamic, it feels really satisfying, but I think it's also pragmatic, because BMW has just delivered a vehicle that, as I mentioned, feels like a BMW. It's just a quality SUV that just happens to be electric. And I think what they've done with it is delivering an X3 range where you can simply choose what powertrain you want, from diesel to petrol to electric, I think is a really quality thing, because I think a lot of people will be able to transition to this and just achieve that BMW experience with a vehicle that has the benefits of an EV, but still delivers the qualities that they would be expecting of a BMW. And I think that the iX3 shows that BMW as a brand is on top of its game in terms of delivering EVs, and really shows a lot of electric car manufacturers how it can be done in terms of just delivering that quality package. And the fact that this vehicle is offered at that $89,000 mark, below the luxury car tax threshold, just increases that value proposition even further from what it delivers as an all-round package. Now, I think it would be hard to justify stepping up that extra $15,000 to go to the M Sport Pro, because yes, you are getting a few extra features, but then you're losing a bit of money as well that's just going to nothing. You will be spending on luxury car tax. If you're going for a novated lease on that vehicle, not only will you be doing that, but then you'll also be losing the fringe benefits tax exemption. So you're going to be reducing the tax savings that you can maximize. You'll also then have to pay GST as well. So the fact that you can get this iX3 below the luxury car tax threshold and avoid that tax, as well as take advantage of GST savings and fringe benefits tax exemptions if you get it through a novated lease, means that it is in some ways a bit of a no-brainer if you're looking for the best all-round premium electric SUV experience, or even just the best premium SUV experience that you can get at that price point. Because I don't think the fact that it's electric, as I've said, actually necessarily matters that much, because if you are simply looking for a premium SUV, this is a good vehicle to look at. If you're looking for a premium electric SUV, obviously it's also a very good vehicle to look at, but it's just an all-round good car regardless of its electric powertrain. So as it stands, the BMW iX3, while it may not be the most affordable, the fastest, or the most efficient premium electric SUV, it is hard to go past the overall level of goodness that it delivers as a complete package. So, is it the best and the smartest premium electric SUV that you can buy? Well, certainly for premium electric SUVs that can be purchased below the luxury car tax threshold, it is hard to look past this vehicle, and it might leave drivers of anything like a Tesla Model Y wanting for anything outside of straight line performance. But it is well worth considering that the Neue Klasse next generation iX3 is on its way. And that vehicle is going to be built on a purely electric platform. It's not going to be shared with any internal combustion cars. So that is going to bring with it more advanced technology, more efficiency, longer range, probably all-wheel drive as well, things that the current generation won't deliver to that degree. So if you can hold out, that is definitely something worth considering. But on the flip side, there are some buyers out there that will definitely appreciate the more old school nature that the iX3 delivers. It is a good premium electric SUV, and outside of that, it is simply a good premium SUV that just happens to be electric. But what do you think? We'd love to know what your thoughts are on the BMW iX3. Have I gotten it right? Have I gotten it wrong? Make sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. While you're there, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and the notification bell. Give us a follow on TikTok and Instagram too. And as always, thank you for watching Chasing Cars.